Today we're going to take a look at the Mythbusters, and I put a space there just in case the company doesn't want to say anything. Sorry, that was a joke. But we're going to take a look at common myths in aviation. One thing that Bob and I were talking about a couple minutes ago is different flight departments. You'll go to another school, another flight school in the same airport or a different company, and you're going to hear something and you go, what? Either I didn't learn that, or what I'm thinking is completely wrong. I'll give you an example. I was driving with a friend a couple days ago, and I come up and I see a speed limit sign. It goes from like 50 to 20. And so I start slowing down, and the person goes, what are you slowing down for? You're still in the transition period. And I went, until you see the second sign, you don't have to slow down. I went, and I went, what? And the person went, that was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But sometimes you're so used to hearing something. And this person said, I've been doing that for 8 years, that I see one sign and I don't really slow down until I see the second sign, just because it's just something that somebody said, and we talk about primacy and other things that you learn in the flight instructor course, but if you hear something, a lot of times you don't question it. And so with that, there's a couple of the myths that we'll start talking about in aviation, and if you guys hear anything, or if you're not sure, always be the one to look it up or ask somebody, because somebody might have a different viewpoint or opinion. And it's really, really cool to talk to Dom, Evan, Chrissy, anybody else. Sorry. Other flight instructors that have varying experiences. And sometimes a lot of the things are, you take a look at and you go, wow, I never even thought about it that way. So it's really cool to see. Aviation Edition Mythbusters. This is just a little bit who I am. I'm from Lynn, Massachusetts, North Shore people. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, Evan, hand over. Yeah, there we go. I went to Bridgewater, graduated 2016. I was a flight instructor here. I've lived for plane since for just under a year, and now I'm back here in the standardization evaluation position. This is a picture of right over the water there, 7,000 feet, working our way up to the Bahamas. So just a kind of a cool photo I thought I'd throw in. Perfect. Quiz time. Who likes quizzes?
Yeah. Who doesn't?
Who likes quiz?
I have to go.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think our meeting is starting just a couple minutes early.
Oh, 10.
What? All the flight instructors are supposed to have like 10 attached to them at all times.
Bob, everybody take a look at these. Make a mental note. You see a common theme here, maintenance, right? Preventative maintenance is the first one. Don't turn these over for me.
Thanks.
Well, what if I'm wrong?
Well, then we're going to discover the right answer.
I believe you, Ben.
I want you guys to remember this for in-doc Bridgewater State University.
Yep.
I'll do
This
that.
will be the this is some of the theme here to one of the exams. How are we doing? Good? Good, cool. This is just a little disclaimer. Everyone take a look at this, and basically, as you see, a lot of the things that you can do as a private pilot doesn't necessarily mean you should. Okay, so just I'd say consult a mechanic or somebody that's qualified to conduct maintenance, and make sure that you're following all the applicable regulations before you start working on an airplane. So, just talking about the preventative maintenance. Myth number 1 is, okay, yeah, I can do an oil change, I can do a couple other things, but there's actually a huge list of things that you can do to an airplane if you have at least a private pilot certificate. One thing, as I was looking this up, I saw that there was a couple changes because this whole sport category, so they made a couple modifications. But let's take a look here. Number 1, what do you guys think?
True.
Yeah.
True, right? Cool. Number 2.
True.
True, right? Number 3.
True.
False. What do you think? This one is true.
True.
Yeah,
Yep.
this is true.
As long as you don't affect the controls stuff.
Yeah, this one you can also. There's a whole bunch. I mean, good amount of things you can do for spark plugs. It's that's one of those ones where you go, I don't know if I would feel comfortable doing that, but it's something that is in. Everybody here is at least a private pilot, right? Working on an instrument, you know what I mean? So these are all things that we can do. Okay, number 4. The private pilot can replace defective safety wire or cotter keys. Does everybody know what a cotter key is?
Hold something in place.
Yeah, so they kind of look like,
Yeah.
yeah, they're kind of these things that look like, and you put the pin and make sure that, yeah, so you put like the trailer so that like your trail doesn't fall off on the highway. What do you think, true or false?
False.
Anybody else?
False.
False. True, this is true.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is a true statement.
I failed that test.
You kind of see the theme, you see the theme here?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm out.
A private pilot can service landing gear shock struts by adding oil, air, or both. It says or both, but I just,
It's true.
true, right? What airplanes do we have that we can do that to here?
The PA-28 Arrow.
Awesome, the Arrow, what else? Anything else?
The PA-34 Seneca.
Yep. Can we replace the starter on that Seneca? That's what it's down for right now. Awesome, last one. The private pilot can replace prefabricated fuel lines on an aircraft.
I'm gonna go with true,
True.
since everything I know is wrong.
Yeah, it is true. That's one of the. If you guys want to flip over this real quick, this is a article from AOPA. So with this, it has references, but this is where you can go and do this. I think it's an appendix of part 43 or something. But this is right off of right off an AOPA article, and it goes through each preventative maintenance thing that you can do as a private pilot. And one of the things that Jared, you're in NIFA. Ben, are you in flight team?
Not this semester.
Cool. Oh yeah. But one of the things that they do is they'll always throw something very strange in there. So what I'd say is just take a look at that and it's good to go. But there's a lot of things that you can do. What happened here? This is a picture I took at Beverly off of my phone. This was a student that came back and just pulling the parchment, pulling. And then what happened here?
It's a loss of fluid or pressure on one side.
Right here, you see that?
Oh, never mind.
Pull the stick right off.
Right out. Yeah. It basically got shot out. And then with this, these students pumping the handbrake, and there's just fluid pouring right out into the cockpit. It was on the ground. It was nothing bad, but it's kind of tough to see. I mean, it's kind of tough to see if you're just looking at it, 'cause it's really dark. But just where the sun was, I was able to kind of get this really cool picture. So that's something where, okay, I can maybe do something with the landing gear, but that's something that I'm not going to be able to touch. So that's kind of where I was going with it in there. Awesome. This is something that this is myth number 2. I need every inspection for a VFR flight. Why do you think that people get so used to thinking that I need every single inspection for a VFR flight?
This is an acronym.
This is an acronym, right, that we always use. What else? What do we do at Bridgewater? We get them all done all the time, right? So, and you're checking the sheet and you see, oh, one's expired. It's usually a big deal. The big thing for stage checks that I like to ask, especially for the commercial pilots that are, let's say you're going to go fly skydivers or you're going to work on banner towing, and just kind of understanding when an inspection is actually required. So this is a pretty good. I know one of the check pilots, they'll say, hey, I want the minimum. I want the minimum amount I can do, because that could be a scenario that your employer might ask for. So this is all the stuff we know, right? Airworthiness directives, 100% required. This was one of the things that an aviation inspector that we saw on Monday night, he hit on. He said, you guys have to be able to say as pilots that these are complied with. And so how do we know if an airworthiness directive is complied with here at Bridgewater? Maintenance logs. What about if I'm a student going up to pre-flight? What about you guys? It's in the can? Yeah, where's it in the can?
Well, it's a binder, but
Yeah, right.
they just down in the sheet with everything on
You
it.
have sheet,
Summary sheet.
right? Is there one or a couple of the Skyhawks that have one? Anything?
Say again.
Wasn't there an 80 coming out for the one of the Skyhawks?
715.
715 has it. There's another one for the Seneca, and that one's actually due at the next 100 hour. I'm not sure if it's every 100 hours, but what about a VOR check? No.
Only if you're doing VFR, IFR flight.
IFR flight. There's another little caveat in there with that too. It's using basically the VOR system. I forget the exact verbiage. What's that?
For navigation.
Yeah, using it for navigation. Awesome. Cool. Inspections. 100 hour. This is one that actually people are usually pretty good about. Usually the 91.409 section on stage checks, I found people are pretty solid on, because that's something that we hit really hard. This is the last two here. I'm sorry, the middle two. Those are the ones that kind of get tough on. The altimeter and pitot-static check. I get a lot of times, I'll ask, hey, is that required for VFR flight? And I get, yeah, I'm not really sure. And then we end up looking it up and find that it's for IFR, right? Required for IFR. Transponder, when is the transponder check required?
So you need to use a transponder
right? So if it's anything required by 90215, right? I think 135 has to be checked all the time, and there's a couple other things. But, and then what about your OT? What about that one? 207? What do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah.
There's multiple parameters under that reg where you don't need to have it inspected, so it
Yeah.
does not need to be inspected all the time.
Yeah, the one that applies to us is,
50 nautical mile flight training.
yeah, if you're conducting flight training within 50 nautical miles, you don't. There's a couple other stipulations there. But just to make sure that you read the entirety of the reg, and you'll see in another minute or two how that actually affects, can affect maybe a definition or a thought process. Myth number 3, and this is what I hear a lot of times with, a lot of times with, let's say it's, it's gusting 25, I want to get my flight lesson done, it's forecasted to get a little bit worse, but we're going to be doing a lot of air work. So you get out to the run-up area, 1800, you do a ag check, and then I can log that. Not true, right? Yeah. What's the biggest part in flight time? This is out of part 1.
Aircraft comes to rest after landing.
After landing, right? Moves under its own power. But that was a thing that was at other places that I've worked, even in the commercial realm. That was people just thought, oh, the intention of flight, we're good to go. That's not just one place I've heard it. I've heard it in three specific groups of pilots that all work and get paid to work. So that's one. Did it used to be with the intention of flight and they changed it?
Yes.
Is that what it used to be?
Yeah, well, they changed the verbiage of the regulation.
Yeah. Cool. What is?
You need a
So always
password to
look
get
it up.
these
Even
videos.
if it's that paper, look it up.
Awesome. What is nighttime? What is nighttime?
That's what
It
you're
depends,
looking for.
right? It depends what we're looking for. What about if I'm a commercial student and I want to go on a night cross country and I'm just like sitting there and dispatch is like, when can you go? When can you go? Civil twilight, right? And they define it as, I've heard the Farmer's Almanac a couple times. I was doing some research the other day, and it's the Air Almanac that the looks like the government produces, the Navy Nautical Almanac Office. Good job. This was for today, by the way, in New Bedford. And this is what the sheets look like. And this was actually for today. Sorry, the picture got distorted when I took it out, but yeah. What about currency? What about currency? Let's say I wanted to conduct landings for just being current to take passengers.
1 hour to sunset, 1 hour before sunrise.
Yeah, so you see how there's a little bit of a discrepancy there. I can start flying in, well, I can start flying, right? I can start flying in log nighttime, but you need at least an hour after sunset to make currency. So that's myth number 4. What is nighttime? And I mean, even here I've heard, it's right at sunset. It's just something that, every word, almost every word, a lot of words have a definition. And that definition can even sometimes change depending on what you're going for example, cross-country time. So just if you're never not sure, it probably has a definition. And if it's not in 61.1, it's probably in part 1. Or a good Google search always helps out too.
When are nav lights required?
Sunset to sunrise.
Sunset to sunrise, so that's another
Yeah.
kind of offshoot of that.
Three definitions of it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Thank you. Now this is something you may have heard in it's myth number 5. Something you may have heard in, and a lot of times people will, I think, use this to maybe simplify lift. I'm not really sure, but that's I've heard this at a couple different places. This is one lift theory, and as I was going through, I was brought to the NASA website, and they had a whole section on incorrect lift theories. And I thought that was rather humorous because it was like number 1, and then it's like number 2. The more I was digging into this, the more I found that there are people out there that have whole entire web pages. Was it Code 7700?
Yep.
Is that guy? He has a whole list of just like facts and regs and words. It's really kind of cool. So do you guys know what the equal transit theory is?
Yep.
Christopher Shannon's people should know it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they used to put in the PHAC.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. What is that?
The air molecules at the beginning of the when we were trailing is the exact same time.
Oh yeah. I think when I was learning, they had like 2 little monkeys with a face on it, and they worked their way up and around. What's that?
I saw that one.
With the little face on it? Yeah, that was probably a little PHAC.
Yeah.
But, awesome. What in actuality, what's happening?
Air on the upper portion of the wings accelerated, and molecules don't split apart.
This is true.
Yeah, that's the other thing. They don't split apart. Yeah.
But yeah, this was. I was looking about. Oh wow, that looks. Oh, incorrect. And the number one, like they have a whole list of stuff. So it's number 5. Cool.
Oh, yeah.
This whole section deals with. This whole section deals with study materials and reference materials that you might find on the internet that may not always be correct. One of the ones that I see a lot of times, you know, Dom and I are going to study for our stage 2 check, and I'm in the dorms or something. I saw this document a lot, and it's actually even included in the new hire handout because most of it's spot on. It's really pretty awesome. But bonus points to somebody who can find the incorrect piece of information on here, and this is I just copied right off of the document. Something to look at here. Here's something. Has anybody seen any of these videos online? I'm gonna play the video and just I'll pause it after the piece of information that may be a little bit say obscured.
It's Dom's favorite guy.
Can you hear it? Oh yeah. Can you guys hear it? Yeah, I won't.
Is he reading it off of paper? Wait.
Right?
Yeah, that's not correct.
Yeah. So what you said our MRA is the lowest altitude we can receive
Navigational coverage.
navigational coverage.
Also, those aren't acronyms.
Also, those aren't
Abbreviations, yeah.
Did you also hear the intro? Now you already know how to fly an airplane. All we're gonna do is throw a couple different acronyms at you and you know a couple different phrases and a couple new things, and you're like, it's the whole course, you know.
Completely different.
It's actually the toughest course, I think, personally.
He can also nut stuff.
I was like me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Receive
Yeah,
it.
he did.
I don't know. The video software probably didn't have the squiggly line.
I mean, if he's
but
gonna
we all
just
know
read
that.
off the thing like cut me a bit better. I don't know.
Yeah.
Before you accept that.
See, you know the rules. Good. See?
Yeah. So, and this person has a lot of videos online, offers ground schools, and everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. I totally get that. Just understand that some things you may find online, or even from another instructor, another person, may not have the most correct information. So with that, just stick to your primary source materials. Reference it and be able to reference if requested. Pretty good? Good. Yeah, that was really the whole video. Awesome. Myth number 7. Has anybody been through the book, the Aerodynamics for Naval Aviators, the ANA book? Yeah. You guys been through it?